This is a dog whistle. 14 flags posted at 11:14. If you don't know the significance of this, I would suggest you search that number followed by the word words. It is a reference to something truly terrifying.
This comment reads, "Can you explain 14 words? I really don't want that in my search history." Yeah, not a problem. I'm almost certainly on a watch list somewhere anyway. So the 14 words is a white supremacist slogan that was coined by a man named David Lane, founder of a white supremacist terrorist group called The Order. The 14 words are, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children." And those 14 words effectively encapsulate the entirety of modern white supremacist views. That unless immediate and violent action is taken, the white race is doomed to extinction by an alleged rising tide of color. A rising tide of color that is usually said to be controlled and manipulated by Jews. And while we can take some comfort in the fact that David Lane died in prison in 2007, unfortunately his legacy lives on.
I've been thinking all day about how I can compassionately and empathetically talk about this tweet. This tweet is very important. In fact, it's one of the most important tweets that I genuinely believe will be in history books in the future. It is an indication, it is a warning as to exactly which way Donald Trump sees the US government going. What's important to recognise, whether you are left-wing or right-wing, MAGA or not, I don't care, is that these systems and balances, these checks have been there since the founding of the United States of America, regardless of who has held power. And they are there to stop an individual from having consolidated, complete and overarching power within themselves. The fact that these executive orders are being blocked is a sign that democracy is still functional, that the Senate, that the House, the Congress, that it's all still working as it should. The moment that he oversteps those boundaries as set by the judiciary, as is constitutional, is the moment that democracy turns to dictatorship. And one individual would have complete consolidated power within himself to do whatever he wanted, both nationally and internationally. He has sent out a very clear black and white warning that that is where he's at. That regardless of what is on paper, regardless of what is the law, regardless of what is the Constitution, he doesn't plan to abide by it. Playing by the rules and by the systems is no longer the intention, if it ever was to begin with. And his mindset is very much focused on completely unquestioned, unbridled power, just with himself. It is no longer a democracy of what the United States of America wants as people. It is about what he wants as a person. That should be incredibly worrying. And to put that into some perspective, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, the British monarch didn't even have the sort of power that he is advocating for in this tweet. Even at that time in history, the British monarch still had to put things through government. There still had to be approval of policy. There still had to be checks. There still had to be balances. What he is advocating for is the destruction of that. And there's an irony in it that the nation that fought against having a king has somehow ended up in a position in which the political leader of that nation is advocating not just as to be the king, but to be far more than that. To be the dictator of the nation. I don't care about your political alignment. It isn't really of any interest to me because these systems have existed regardless of what your political alignment or what you voted for in your life, what your parents, what your grandparents have voted for in their lives. These systems were in place. The idea that those systems could be removed and one individual could have that amount of unchecked power is incredibly, incredibly worrying. I get a lot of comments on my videos, and they are really hard to stomach sometimes because they are things like help us and, you know, no one's coming. No one is coming. We can't. We have no authority, power, or money, or anything to get involved in the internal politics of a nation like that, of your nation like that. No one is coming. On the international world stage, J.D. Vance is making enemies on every corner of the map. There is absolutely nothing that we can do for you right now. It's on the American people to call your Congress members, to take this seriously, to do what you have to do, to ensure that you remain in a legal, law-abiding democracy with checks, balances, and structures in place to protect you and your family and your friends and your loved ones. You've just got to do what you can do. Get a copy of the Constitution, read it, and understand it. Read it from cover to cover, memorize it. You need to know where your rights lie. And you have got time. He has indicated stupidly, by telling the world in this tweet what his thoughts are and what his actions will soon be, you have been given a window of time to take this as seriously as you need to take it, and to approach legal professionals, to talk to each other, to talk to Congress, to demand, to protest, to use your democratic rights as they are currently still standing. It is to be taken seriously. It isn't the ramblings of a lunatic. I mean, it is, but that lunatic just so happens to be the President of the United States of America, so I'm not willing to park that and just put this down to, oh, this is just some lunatic. He's nuts, he's just rambling nonsense again, as he always does. I'm not willing to gamble like that, personally. The rules of the game are changing, and they are changing in his favour as he wants them to. And it is up to the lawmakers and the government and the elected officials and the councillors and the Congress members and the citizens of the USA to do what they can while you can to stop this decline, which is, the writing is not just on the wall. It couldn't be clearer. Could it? My loves, really? When someone puts out a tweet like that in his position, it is to be taken seriously. It's not just to be chalked up to a load of nonsense by a orange buffoon. It is to be taken seriously. And the rest of us just have to wait, because ultimately we aren't coming to your side and to your aid. We cannot come to your side and to your aid. It's just not possible. Help has to come from within.